I'm back, and I'm your host, BKP. Good morning, North Georgia. Good morning, America. It's Karen Handel Day. Now, I just have to tell you, we have named it Karen Handel Day here on the show, but we're going to move right on. The election's over. They're enjoying it today, the win. Some are not enjoying it, but the win today, it's over, and it's time to move on, as we do in politics. And my next guest is Representative or State Senator Michael Williams, a candidate for the Georgia governor's race here. And Mr. Williams, are you with us?
I am.
Good to have you this morning. And am I correct? Is it the 27th district? Are you the state senator for the 27th district? Do I have that right?
That's correct. The 27th district, it encompasses pretty much all of Forsyth County.
I was up way too late, Senator, and got up way too early. Were you up a little late last night?
I'm with you, Brian. It was a great night last night. We had a good time down there celebrating Karen's victory, and what a fabulous night it was.
It was a great night I think it was a great night for Georgia. I think it was a great night for the 6th District. I think it was a great night for America, and I think it was a bad night for Democrats. And I think it was the bad night. I want to emphasize the bad night. Before we get into the governor's race, you have talk about how you feel about that race last night, and then let's go into, before you get into your issues on your website. You very open in your support for Donald Trump as president of the United States, and I understand, if I'm not correct, one of the first state elected representatives here to actually endorse the president and be on his campaign committee. So can you take both of those, the win last night,
Sure,
and your feeling about your support for the president?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, again, congratulations to Karen and her team, the Georgia Republican Party. We came out very, very, very strong. I was listening to your show a little bit earlier this morning. You're talking about how the Republicans flocked to the 6th District, and that is such a true statement. We had people all over the state coming out, knocking on doors, making phone calls, and it's truly a win not just for the 6th District, but for Republicans here in Georgia. And also, to me, it sends a very, very loud and clear message to the Democrats across the country that we don't buy their BS. Their platform that they're running on is not good for America. It's not good for Americans. Definitely not good for Georgians there in the 6th District. So they can spend all the money they want to, but their message is a bad message. And until they realize that, the Republicans are going to keep winning.
Well, Senator,
and then I guess you want to talk about Trump or?
Yeah, go right. No, we're always welcome to talk about the president here.
Awesome. Yeah, I was the first elected official here in Georgia to come out and endorse Donald Trump back in September of 2015. Again, whenever I go around talking to the GOP people right now, and I'm out there telling them that, I get applauses and claps and all that. But back then I didn't. I was getting boos, and people were staring at me weird and thinking I was crazy. But they didn't see what most of America saw, and that was how fed up people are with politics as usual. They're just tired of these elected officials getting up there, making promises, and then going either down to the state capitol or up to D.C. and just forgetting about the promises they made. And Donald Trump has been delivering hand over fist on just about every single promise that he has made during his campaign, and I am a staunch supporter of what the president is doing.
So during this time, and let me ask you that, because I don't want to go into the 6th. That race is done. But the media, and I don't go for the media's account on most anything in some networks. But they tried to paint Karen Handel as somebody who was walking the tightrope where the president's concerned. I personally did not see that. I personally seen her just focusing and zeroing in on the 6th District that she had to win, and not making it about Donald Trump, making it about the people of the 6th District. So I do not see where she walked away from the president. But in your campaign and up to now, since the president has been sworn in on January 20th to now, all the things have taken place. Has anything changed for you from the time you've endorsed the president to now? Are you as strong today as that day in your endorsement for him?
I am stronger today than I was that day. Again, because he has done in the past 6 months more than all the other presidents in the past 16 years have. I mean, just look back at the executive orders that he's issued, taking us out of the Paris Accords. I mean, he's coming through on these promises, and it's blowing the media away because they're not used to this. They're used to, again, candidates out there, talking the talk on the campaign trail, but then once they go to D.C., they kind of fall in line, and that's not what Trump is doing. And that's what I loved about him from the very beginning, and what I love about him now is he is changing the culture and the attitude down in D.C. At least he's trying to. That's his motivation and his motive is to change that culture down there. He's just got a huge uphill battle with the establishment and the media against him right now.
Well, let's change direction to Georgia and the governor's race. And let me take off from the word culture that you used there a couple times, changing the culture. There was a time here that we had multiple issues or concerns with money buying elections. We have seen governor's races, state races, whatever, where the money played the largest role. And I think the good news is the culture is changing where you can dump $50 million into a race, a House race, but people are still seeing through that and getting the facts. So on the governor's race, I've watched a couple things that Governor Nathan Deal has done. Let's go straight for casinos. Your website says keep casinos out of Georgia, just that simple. Do you have no open room for the voters, putting it as a referendum on the ballot, letting the voters make a decision? Why so firm with keep casinos out of Georgia?
Well, first of all, one of the things that just drove me crazy, I've only been an elected official for about 2.5 years. I've gone through 3 sessions down at the Capitol. And one of the most frustrating things is whenever they have a controversial topic such as this, casinos or marijuana or whatever it might be, is they like to attach a heartstring to it. They attach saving hope with casinos. Well, let's talk about casinos. Let's talk about what the benefits casinos might bring, and also the plagues on society that the casinos might bring. And let's have that debate out and open with the public to talk about, instead of, again, trying to attach to something else. And the bill that they presented down at the Capitol this past session that took all the revenue from Hope or from casinos and applied it to Hope, I just think is horrible public policy, because right now we are seeing escalating costs in higher education, double-digit inflation when it comes to higher education. And anybody that understands economics, they understand that when you have a saturated market and you throw more money on top of that market, your costs continue to increase. And the problem, in my mind, isn't we need more money in education. We need to make sure that we are spending the money that we have more effectively and more productively and getting more results. Better results from the money that we're spending. So just the whole philosophy behind what they're trying to push down there is just bad for Georgia.
All right, and again, folks, for you out there, our first interview with candidates, I generally go to their website, look at their first positions on their website. The candidates usually make some pretty bold statements in their positions, and that's where we always start here when we get involved in a campaign or a race for governor. Let me go here on your website, Senator Williams. Return to Republican principles. Now, let me say this, and then I want you to explain return to Republican principles. You wrote on your website, Georgia has had a Republican governor for almost 16 years with a Republican-controlled House and Senate for over a decade. Yet we have not passed basic conservative legislation. Now, before you get into that, we have a Republican-held House. We have a Republican-held Senate. One of your opponents, a Republican Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, over in the Senate, and we've had Sonny Perdue, and right from Roy Barnes, we've gone 2 terms with Sonny Perdue, and I think 2 terms here with Nathan Deal. What about the state is not in the governing of the state? What about it is not Republican principles, and what is returning to them mean for you?
Well, first of all, one of the most basic principles that Republicans just embrace is taxation. And we have the highest state income tax in the Southeast United States. We're surrounded by Florida, North Carolina, Texas, that all have 0 state income tax. Why have we not done more to at least lower the state income tax, if not reduce it? My goal when I become elected governor is to eliminate the state income tax. I believe that we can do that by expanding the base as far as the sales tax and move more towards the fair tax model, as well as, again, controlling the cost that we have here in government. Our state budget has gone from $15 billion to $25 billion in about 7 years. That's a $10 billion increase, 66%. I don't know very many Georgians who in the past 7 years has had a 66% increase in their income, but the state of Georgia has. So I believe there's plenty of opportunities for us to bring in those costs, actually reduce the size of the government, and eliminate, if not reduce, the state income tax. Also, constitutional carry, our Second Amendment right. Why do we not have constitutional carry here in Georgia, and why are we not at the forefront of pushing national carry across the country? It is our Second Amendment right. It's our God-given right to defend ourselves and defend our families, but yet we don't have that here in Georgia. So
well, let me just ask you a question for those viewers out there. You know, sometimes many people just hear constitutional carry. We happen to keep a constitution handy here at any time. But so when we hear over and over politicians say constitutional carry, it's just that simple. You want to adopt the actual Constitution, the Second Amendment, as the right of all Georgians. And can you expand on that, or is it that simple?
Sure. No, it's that simple. We have God-given and alienable rights to defend ourselves, and the Constitution captures those rights and puts it in writing. We don't have to submit an application or get a permit from our government to allow us to defend ourselves. We have that right to do that. So constitutional carry just means that if I want to carry a firearm, a pistol in defense of my persons and my family, I can do that. I don't need anybody's permission to do that.
Okay, let me say this though. Let me look at it from another angle. I know one of the representatives very well that co-sponsored the bill several years ago. The campus carry, and local representative here where I'm at. How do you get constitutional carry? It's easier said than done. I don't want to get stuck on that, but how do you do that when you have a board of regents that will not even have a communication with you? You have such a watered down, what we call campus carry bill. How do you achieve something like this as governor in the state of Georgia? How do you go about that?
That is a very, very good question. And for me, Brian, it starts with leadership, being grounded in what you stand for and what you believe in, and not backing down from that. Too many times I see politicians and elected officials who believe something, but then they go down to the Capitol or to D.C. and they get beat up by these special interest groups and these lobbyists, and they just back down. And it's time that we have, again, a leader that is not scared. That's our tagline on there is fearless conservatism, because we have been too quiet for too long, and it's time that we stand up and just lead with the principles that we know and believe in. And then once we start to lead, people are going to follow. People are going to come in and support us. And we just gotta believe in the American people. We got to believe in the principles for which our country was founded, and use that as our guiding star.
You know, you went right into something, because I mean, listening to politicians throughout my career, taglines, whether it's progressive, whether it's liberals, whether it's moderates, now conservative. It seems like conservative has been, now this is to me, Senator, this is my feelings, okay? It seems like in the Republican Party, the word conservative has been as misused as the liberals in the Democrat Party has been used correctly. As many times as they use that correctly, the Republicans are misusing conservative. And we get into election time, and we get inundated with mailers and commercials, the true conservative, what identifies, you say fearless conservative, and I want to go with this. Yep. And I'm not saying by any means, I don't want it misunderstood. I'm just saying we hear conservative a lot out here, and you say if you want a real conservative reform. I mean, is it time to put real in front of conservative as a candidate, because several candidates are misusing the word. So what does real conservative mean to Mike Williams and should mean to the voters of Georgia?
Well, again, whenever I talk about being conservative, it's financially conservative, it's socially conservative, it's those principles that a smaller government, lower taxes. But I guess it's not so much the words on paper, because I can put anything on paper. My opponents can put anything on paper. It's more, how are we campaigning? How is our voting record? What are we actually going to do to deliver on those promises? Because again, for 16 years, we have heard Republican candidates talk about conservative values, talk about conservative Republican, but yet we haven't seen the fruits of those labors. One of the things that I am extremely proud about that just came out not too long ago was I was the only senator here in Georgia to receive a 100% on the ACUF, the American Conservative Unions Foundation, and then also the Americans for Prosperity. I received 100% on there, and I was graded the most conservative senator in Georgia. So it's not just me out there saying I'm conservative. My record proves that I am the most conservative Republican senator here in the state. So it's about what you do, not necessarily what you say or what you put on paper.
I apologize for not having this fact in front of me, Senator, but how long have you been in the Senate in the state of Georgia?
I just finished my third session.
Okay, now I have a question that I would ask every single candidate that came on here.
Sure.
Did you support and vote for the 1% transportation tax?
You talking about HB 170, the transportation tax?
Yes.
Back in 2015? I did.
You supported that? Okay. And trust me, if any candidate that comes on here, I'm not singling you out, I will ask that same question of every candidate.
Can I talk about that for a moment?
Sure, you can.
One of the reasons, because I get that question a lot, is, Michael, you're talking about taxes, you're talking about being conservative, so how do you reconcile you voting for 170 with what you're talking about, especially when I just talked about, look at my voting record.
And that's the reason. The reason I brought it up, Senator.
Yeah.
Is because when you look at the voting, I agree with you. If you go back and look at the voting record, but go ahead. There's your opportunity to talk about it.
No, it's a very, very fair question. It was my first session down there. I went down there and I was kind of learning the process as I was experiencing it. I'd never been involved in politics before. It was my first elected office. I get down there and I don't know of a single person here in Georgia that thinks that transportation is not an issue. The issue is, how are we going to fund fixing transportation? And my position, as well as several others down there, was let's go ahead and let's take money from the general fund and apply it to transportation without passing on this tax increase. So that was kind of the battle that was going on in our Republican caucus meetings. As the session kind of was winding down, leadership came out and said, well, look, why don't we pass this tax, and then we will tackle the reduction of the state tax, take it out of the general fund next session. So they threw in the study committee that would allow us over the summer to work on how we would do that, so that next session we could vote to reduce the tax, to basically offset the increase in the tax from the general side. I bought into that. I believe that. You can say I was wrong for that, but I took them for their word, and it never happened. So for that, I have to stand on. But it was more, I believe something when I shouldn't have.
Well, that's the one reason I brought it up, Senator, because transportation, and you're 100% correct in this area, transportation is something that is talked about in the state of Georgia on a daily basis. It is becoming one of the top, I guess, 2 or 3 campaign issues is transportation, and I understand it. And that's the reason I really brought that up, because I wondered if one, you supported that, and 2, if that is one of the ways to alleviate transportation issues and it's working. I know you said you had to around 9 and we're getting close, but I have something else.
Sure.
I don't go backwards, because obviously we're looking to the future in the next governor, but in the last 2 sessions, session before last, 3 sessions ago, let me get this right. 3 sessions ago, a religious liberty bill did not make it through the House. Okay, 2 sessions ago, a religious liberty bill or freedom bill, okay, religious freedom bill, made it through the House and Senate with Representative Kevin Tanner, Pastor Protection Act. It was pushed together. And it made it through, and it got to the governor's desk, and it was vetoed. Okay, governor vetoed that one. And last year, it wasn't even brought up. Okay, so in the state of Georgia, I have two parts of this. The one that passed that went to the governor's desk, did you support that one? Did you support both of them? And would you have signed that? And what would you do? Would you have them bring that back to the floor to get to your desk? So just, I hope I wasn't too confusing in my question.
No. Actually, Josh McCoon's bill, the religious freedoms bill.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't mean to interrupt you. But please, Senator McCoon, forgive me for leaving you out on that one. Okay, I'm sorry. Go back, sir. I like Senator McCoon. I don't want to forget he was highly involved in that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was one of the sponsors, one of the co-sponsors on that bill in the Senate. So I definitely supported that, and yes, I supported it when it came back across as more of a Religious Freedom Pastor Protection Act. I voted for that. But then also in 2017, that was brought back up again. Senator Harbin, introduced legislation that was identical to the federal version that Governor Deal voted on when he was in Congress. When he voted yes for the bill in Congress, it was that exact same bill that Marty Harbin presented to the Senate, and I signed on to that this past session. So there is a religious freedoms bill in 2017, and it's sitting in the Rules Committee right now. Not because it made it out of committee, another committee. It was sent directly to Rules.
Senator, we're pushing up on 9 o'clock, so what I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to close. What would you like to tell the voters? What would you like for people to hear from Senator Mike Williams, candidate for governor, this morning before we close?
Well, again, thanks, Brian, for bringing me on. And I think we've talked a lot about it. Again, for the past 16 years, we've had Republican-controlled governor's office. In the past decade, we've had Republican-controlled House and Senate. And what do we have to show for it? And it's time that we get somebody in there that's willing to stand up, willing to fight for the people, and put their interest in the heart of the Capitol and not the special interests that are down there now. So it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to coming back on.
Well, we appreciate it. If you're ever up in LJ, we'd like to have you in the studio anytime, or in the Blue Ridge area. You come up to North Georgia, let us know. We'd like to have you in the studio. Contact us. We'd like to bring you in. And we tell all candidates this. We wish you well. We thank you for your willingness to serve. And we're going to stay focused on this race like a laser beam, but we're going to keep it focused to Georgia and not let outside money from San Francisco influence us. How about that? We'll agree on that today?
Perfect.
Okay.
Definitely, 100%. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Senator. Have a nice day. Okay, that was State Senator, 27th District, State Senator Michael Williams, candidate for governor. And what I like to do on the first interview for candidates is, governor for the state of Georgia, what I like to do on the first interview for candidates is actually pinpoint their website, because that's where they want to put the issues out and say the reasons they're running. So then once we get some back and forth on candidates, then we start digging into those things. But my first initial meeting with a candidate is to discuss most of the issues on their website. We want to thank State Senator Williams. We have other candidates. I don't want to bring them up right now. We're in talks with several of the other candidates for governor of Georgia to be on the show. So look for that. Maybe even this week, starting next week. And I think we'll take a break, and then I might come back. Sam, I think when we come back, we'll say something about Trump, something about Karen Handel, and then something about Trump again. Could you figure that?
Imagine that.
Imagine that. That's what we're going to do. You imagine that while we're on break. I'm your host, BKP. Sam, take us a break.